So, what we can't support through grants. So there's plenty of things to look out for. One is that, alcohol, we can't fund it through grants. If you're supplying food and beverage at AGMs, at your annual general meetings, your end of year ones, we can't we can't fund that as well. Prizes for individual clubs or society events, or prizes in general, we can't fund that. Gambling, gifts, tobacco in any form whatsoever, like your vapes and all that as well, we can't fund that. Payment of any fines imposed on a club. So if you've ever received a fine, that'll be up to you, your responsibility, not paid through staff. Brewing equipment, so anything really in relation to alcohol. For that. Single-use plastics, as I mentioned before, is not funded through grants. And if you're trying to apply for a grant to support fundraising donations, like donation directly, that can't be supported through student money. But we can support an event or activity to enable you to start doing fundraising, but not directly to fund donations. Also trophies for events and sport, which is technically considered a prize. Normal operations like your personal transport costs, like gas and like all that, as part of your BAU or something that can't be funded through staff. Any items that become personal properties, again, what I mentioned earlier about uniforms, can't be funded through staff, and as well as for any teachers, coaches, trainers, or players. Like you'll say, if you have a dance teacher or you have a tennis coach, that can't be paid through by staff. That'll be up to you as a club, but you can't apply for that. Now for grant cutoff meeting dates, here is the 2025 version. So we've already passed the March one. The next grant round will be in 22nd of April on Tuesday, so about 7 days from now. So you'll have to have lodged your corresponding grant application form by this date. 7 days later, we will have our committee meeting. So it basically gives about 5 business days for the grant secretary to compile and approve amounts in between and discuss the rest of it. Compile them all together corresponding, and then after the grant committee we'll have that discussed by the grant committee meeting, and if successful, that's only when you could lodge a claim after that, and they'll tell you exactly how much you're eligible to receive. So make sure again that you've got the receipts for that. So that's for the rest. It goes up until October. So in terms of assessing a grant application, again, make sure you have provided details on everything you want to apply for and how that will benefit the student community and your club. And if also make sure that you're being realistic with your funding. So we'll assess how many students that will actually benefit. So if you've only got like 10 committee members or 10 students attending your event, then we won't give you $500. It has to be realistic, like ratioed in terms of like the cost benefit sort of analysis. And of course, again, we won't fund events or activities held in private homes, right? So you can't have a party at your house and then get that funded through staff. It has to be in a proper thing. And again, we'll know about this when you lodge your risk assessment. And also, you got to ask about what is it contributing and how is it benefiting everyone? Because we might not always fully fund an activity, but you need to try to be self-sufficient. So make sure you consider how much your club is contributing towards the cost. Again, with your ticketing and everything else, make sure you consider other more affordable options if you're aware, or at least charge a gold coin donation. Of course, there's a lot of a case-by-case basis in terms of altruism and everything that you're trying to benefit, but make sure that you keep that in mind. And we understand that not everything could be held on campus, and Some events are more suited to a particular venue. So again, consider your options to enhance your student experience. Um, but we will look favorably at events where you hold it on campus. So if you're successful with your application, then lodge your grant claim form. Again, exactly the same like page as you go, except it's at the very top right there. So grant claim form club societies at the bottom left corner. Um, that one you'll only have that option appear in front of you if you've lodged a grant application form that has been approved on our portal. Otherwise, if you've never lodged a grant claim, you'll that page will be blank. So you can't see that form unless you've actually had a form that's pending or approved. And then again, as Ingrid has talked about on our flowcharts, you'll be informed on your application if you're successful. And then in that application, you'll need to include your receipts, invoices, a brief report about how the activity went and how it benefited you, your template, financial template on how your income and expense, about your income and expenses, a breakdown into how many UTAS students attended versus non-UTAS students who's attended, include their ID numbers, and again, you can only can only submit one grant claim per approved grant. So make sure it's all um, minuted and put it in there efficiently. And of course, claims must be finalized by the 30th of November to allow for paperwork to be completed in time for TUSA auditing requirements, unless there's been a special arrangement that we've discussed with you. Otherwise, please lodge it by the 30th of November. It's always good practice to lodge to claim your grants as soon as you get them approved. Don't wait until the end of the year to get that reimbursed because after that month, you may lose out on that if you don't lodge. Okay, so again, in our handbook, which is under our CNS resources, finances, you'll find our financial template as well as page 46 of our handbook over there. You can find a link to the handbook on our website. It'll be under CNS resources and info under community, or you could simply type on our search bar and say CNS handbook, and there'll be like 15 different links that link you to the same thing. Um, so in the handbook there. So yeah, please do read through that. And thank you all for coming. And also thank you for watching if you're watching this pre-recorded session. Our next ExecuLearn workshop will be on planning and running your events. So this will be a fairly lengthy workshop going through everything there is to know about how to, um, from ideation to basically launching and post-event um, uh, activities or administration required uh, to running events on or off campus in general. You can also scan our QR code here for a link to the ticket. But yeah, that'll happen next week on the 24th of April from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. via Zoom. Cool. So that's it. Thank you all for coming. Yep. I think